Okay, so we're going to go through assignment one. By this point, you should have, at the very least, signed up for GitHub, which you can do at github.com, and send your username to Troy so he can add you to the, so I can add you to the site-to-site organization, and you can start contributing. So, well, now that you have a GitHub account and you've been added, we're going to go to sign in, and I'm just going to sign in with my own personal account. And from there, if I go to, so this is the kind of landing page, but if I click on my username on the top right, I'll go to my kind of public-facing site. And when you come in, it'll probably say something like you have not contributed to any repositories yet, and your contributions will be blank. But over time, you'll start to be able to see the yellows and greens, identify your kind of contribution over time. And then on the bottom right, you should have one organization at the very least, which is site to site. So let's go to that one. And we're going to go into site-to-site.github.io, which is the main course administration repository. And in here, we're going to go under assignments and click on assignment 1.md, which stands for Markdown, which is the language it's written in. And the first thing is to sign up for a series of services. So if you click through to the wiki page, you can also get to the wiki over here by clicking on wiki when you're inside of the site-to-site.github.io repository. And that'll give you a list of the services you need to sign up for, including GitHub. After you've signed up, make sure to go to the class directory on the wiki page, click the edit button, and copy the profile of the last student who signed up. Paste it, and then make changes to reflect yourself, your username, your image, and so on. The next thing is to go to the software install page. And if you're using the school's computers, that's fine. I'll show in another place how your workflow will be slightly different. But if you have access to your own computer and can install things, these are the kind of minimum requirements for the course, at least at present. There might be more as we go. One is the Chrome browser. We're going to be using Chrome. We're using Sublime Text 2 as our kind of text editor for coding. We'll want to use the GitHub client so you can upload things to GitHub from your local machine. FileZilla is an FTP client. You can use any FTP client. FileZilla is the one free one that I can support. If you use a different one, I might not be able to help you so well if you run into issues. And then finally, Fritzing is a drawing program that will allow you to create drawings of your circuitry that can be shared with others. Okay, so now that you've signed up for the services, you've added your name to the class directory, and you've got all the software, we can move on to the main assignment, which is to create, or rather to describe an app or program, to speak in more architecture language. An app that will use the underlying hardware that we're going to create over the course of the first half of the semester. So if you can imagine a few weeks into the future when we're going to have a series of objects in Studio X's around the world that can talk to each other, what would you do with it? And you can choose to either make a local app or program for Studio X in particular that would be a way of connecting those things in a single space. Or you can do a global programmer app whose objective would be to connect spaces and people in those spaces distributed remotely around the world using connected objects. So the first thing we're going to do to be able to do that is to fork the site-to-site.github.io repository, which is basically going to give you a local copy of it that you can start making changes to, but it'll always be linked back to the original. So it's not a kind of regular copy where it's just you make a copy and you run with it. A fork actually keeps the revision history. It actually remembers that it was part of a original project, which is this project here, site-to-site/site-to-site.github.io. So let's go to site-to-site.github.io by clicking here, and we're going to click fork. You'll probably only have two choices, and you'll only be able to choose one of them, which will be your main username. So do that, click. If you were belonging to other organizations, you'd be able to fork it into those, but you want to fork it into your personal. So what it's doing is it's making a copy, and putting it into your publicly available github.com profile. So now you'll see it still says site-to-site.github.io. All of the files are here. You can see the assignments folder and the README down below. But now it's the TroyTH version, or whatever your personal GitHub username is. So now that you have a version of it on GitHub, the next thing you want to do is you want to make what's called a clone, a copy of this, onto your local machine so you can start making changes. So you're going to open the GitHub client app, and you're going to want to make sure, maybe the first time you open it, it might lead you through a wizard where you can, or kind of series of steps where you can give it your username. If you weren't able to do that, then if you go under the GitHub menu and preferences, you'll be able to give it your login. So give it your personal name and your password and click sign in. And once you've done that, it'll link to your account on github.com. And you're going to want to go, do not go into site to site. If you go into site to site, you'll see that you'll have the option to clone the original site to site. The problem is you won't have permissions to upload directly to this. So what you want to do is go into your personal account. You want to go down and find your version of site-to-site.github.io. So your name / site-to-site.github.io, and you're going to clone that one to your computer. So I'm going to go into my site-to-site directory. From here I'm going to go, I made a directory called repos, and I'm just going to leave the name the same, the folder name the same, so that it's always obvious which one I'm adding to, and I'm going to click clone. If you go back up to the top, you'll see it's going to take a minute or two because there's a lot of images in this particular repository, so we'll just skip ahead.